Welcome back to my channel. I am Anshul from Quantshala. So this is the final part for the mock test 2 solutions where we discuss the last 9 questions. I hope you've been enjoying the previous 3 parts. I know the solutions are a little in detail, but that is going to help you in the future as you will develop a strong foundation of the concept, and then you will be able to perform better in the next mock test and the CAT 20 exam. If you haven't watched the other 3 parts, press on the I icon on the top to watch them. In the description also I have provided the links for all the parts along with the link to mock test. If you haven't attempted the mock test, do attempt it and share the solutions with me. The instructions will be in the mock test itself so that you get a detailed analysis on top of your performance, so that you are able to tap into and understand your strengths and weaknesses, and then I'll be able to guide you as to how to tackle your weaknesses effectively. So this is the kind of analysis that I've been providing to all aspirants who have been attempting the mock test online or even offline later after the mock test happened. So this mock test was happening on Sunday 10 p.m. on the Facebook group, the last Sunday. And this is a real analysis of someone from the mock 1 that we had before this. So this gives you real insights into your performance. For example, geometry and number system are real problems here for this guy. And after this, I am also having one-on-one calls with each test taker to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and then suggest them personalized solutions by which they are able to tackle their weaknesses effectively. So make sure to join this Facebook group where you will be able to connect with me one-on-one and then ask all your doubts or queries related to the CAT 20 exam. Do encourage your friends also to join this group so that there is a bigger community on the Facebook group, and then also whenever I am hosting quizzes or mocks, you can have a competition with your friends and see who wins. So let's get started with the solutions, the last part. Okay, this is a good time, speed and distance questions. I recommend that you pause here and try this question yourself, because definitely most likely you will get the wrong answer for this one, and I want you to understand that why you're getting that wrong answer. So it is imperative that you try this question first yourself. Okay. So pause the video and post whatever answer you're getting in comments. So Biswa walks at his usual speed of 5 km per hour along a railway track and meets a train every day coming in the opposite direction at a speed of 60 km per hour. Okay. So this is where Biswa walks from, Biswa Kalyan Rath, and this is where the train comes from in the opposite direction. Okay. Now Biswa is going at 5 km per hour. Train is going at 60 km per hour. So where will they meet? It is said to, basically the question says there are parallel tracks or parallel roads, but we can assume it as one, right? Because ultimately we are concerned about the distance between these two guys. So where will they meet? By simple relative speed concept, if the distance between this is d, if this entire distance is called d, then how much time will they take to meet? D by 60 plus 5, D by 65. And where will they meet? Let's say this point is A, this point is B. Where this is M, where they meet. So what is M? D by 65 is the time they take to meet. And in this time, Biswa will travel 5 times this the distance. This is time multiplied by speed, which gives you the distance. So AM is this distance. M is the meeting point, so AM is the distance from Biswa's original location to where they meet every time. Okay. Now one day Biswa started late from home, while the train which had started on time was moving at its usual speed, overshot the usual meeting point by 5 km. How late was Biswa? Okay. So this time the meeting point here is N and the distance here is 5 km. Okay. They were generally meeting at M. The now new meeting point is 5 km left. Okay, because Biswa started late, train came 5 km extra here. Now straightforward answer which people give will be, train came 5 km extra. That means train traveled for 5 minutes extra, because train can travel 5 km in 5 minutes. That means Biswa started 5 minutes later. But that is not the correct answer. Understand why? Because this 5 minutes, that is true that the train traveled for 5 minutes extra. Okay. But that does not mean that Biswa traveled for 5 minutes less. Okay. Biswa actually traveled for 60 minutes less if you see. Biswa always traveled this distance AM. Now he is traveling 5 km less. And for traveling 5 kilometer, Biswa has to travel for 60 minutes less, 1 complete hour. Okay. So our result will be a combination of both of these. Somehow, let's look at how. Okay. Now, let's say Biswa started t minutes late. Okay. Biswa started this time t minutes late. In this time, how much distance will train cover before Biswa even starts? Let's say this is the point that train has reached when Biswa starts. Okay. So Biswa is starting at time t. At that time, train has reached here. Till that time, train has traveled a distance of 60 multiplied by t. Okay, distance is speed into time. Now, what will be their new meeting point? What is the time they take to meet first of all? D minus 60t divided by 65. The distance that they are covering together from here to here is d minus 60t and their relative speed is 65. How much will Biswa travel in this time? See, because Biswa is traveling only for this time. Biswa started when the train was here. So Biswa will travel for 5 times this time multiplied by speed. So this is an. Subtract am from am. So subtract these. What do you get? You get 5 by 65 common. So this is am minus an. 5 by 65 comes out as common. You get d minus d plus 60t. Okay, dd gets cancelled. All you get is 60t divided by 13. Okay, and this has to be equal to how much? 5 kilometer. So what does t come out as? So we have 60t by 13 is equal to 5 kilometer. This implies t comes out as 65 by 60 hours or 65 minutes, you can say. So the answer comes as 65 minutes. Intuitively, people might think of it as 5 minutes as I said earlier, but try to think of it in more detail. Let's try to solve this by another method. Okay. What is the other method? Now let's try to draw a timeline. Okay. Till now we were playing with distance, time and speed. Now we'll just try to draw a timeline. Okay. So this is a timeline. So now let's say always they started at t equal to 0. Okay. Always Biswa and the train both started at t equal to 0. But this time Biswa started sometime late. Okay. How much time do they take normally to meet? Let's say they take some x amount of time, t equal to x. This is their usual meeting point. Usual meeting point. Okay. Now they will meet 5 minutes late. Okay. Simply because the meeting point was short by 5 kilometer. That means the train traveled for 5 kilometer extra. That means the train traveled for 5 minutes extra. Okay. If their usual meeting time was x minutes, train traveled for x plus 5 minutes this time, and x plus 5 minutes is the time they took to meet. Okay. So t is equal to x plus 5. This is the new meeting point. Okay. New meeting point. Now we also said that Biswa is working for 60 minutes less. Why? Because the Biswa is working 5 kilometers less. Okay, because if you see this distance diagram, this is A, this is B, this was a usual meeting point M. Now they are meeting at N. Biswa is working 5 kilometers less. That means Biswa is working 60 minutes less because his speed is 5 km per hour. Okay. So if their usual new meeting point is x plus 5, okay, so Biswa is walking for 60 minutes less this time. That means if Biswa completed his journey here, where would he have begun his journey? Can you say x plus 5? Okay, normally how much was Biswa walking? Normally their meeting point was x minutes. Okay, that means both Biswa and the train were traveling for x minutes. This time Biswa has to travel for x minus 60 minutes because he's walking for 60 minutes less. He's completing his journey at x plus 5. So he will start his journey at x plus 5 minus x minus 60. This is complete time. Completing time. This is the duration that he's traveling for. What do you get here? 5 plus 60 is equal to 65 minutes. So this is the starting point when this was started. So t is equal to 65 is when this was started. That means normally he started at t equal to 0. This time he started at t equal to 65. That means 65 minutes late. Looking at it again from this perspective, that now that we know 65, how much time did Biswa travel for? He started at t equal to 65. He met the train at t equal to x plus 5. That means he traveled for x plus 5 minus 65. He traveled for x minus 60 minutes. Biswa usually traveled for x minutes because he started at t equal to 0 and ended his journey at t equal to x. So normally he used to travel for x minutes, and this time he traveled for 60 less minutes, which is also satisfied according to what the question has given us. Okay. So this was the second way of looking at it. Make sure you understand both these methods thoroughly. Okay, coming to this question, this is very basic question. So remainder of this with 47, individually first we can compute what is the remainder of 789 with 47. Okay, if you see, let's again try to employ some kind of shortcut. 789 is 78 into 10 plus 9. 78 remainder with 47 is 31. So you get 310 plus 9 is equal to 319. And then you see 47. What is 47 into 5? It's 235. Add 47 here again. What do you get? 282. Okay. You get 282, right? 275, 282 is what you get. Okay. So what is the difference between these? 18 plus 19, 37. So 37 is the remainder that you get with 789. So the first term comes out as 37 raised to the power 789. Okay. The first thought that might come to your mind is, let's try to apply Euler-Stoschek method to this or something like that. But try to solve it with a normal method, because in this case, in fact, Stoschek method will become little longer. Okay. So 37 raised to 789. Now 292 remainder with 47. We know that 282 is a multiple of 47. That means 292 remainder with 47 is 10. 10 raised to 789. Notice that the powers are same here. So we can try to do something. Okay. 37 remainder from 47 can also be said to be minus 10 in negative remainder. So this becomes minus 10 raised to 789 plus 10 raised to 789. Because the power is odd, this becomes minus 10. I mean, you can take this entire minus out. So this becomes minus of 10 raised to 789 plus 10 raised to 789. Whatever the remainder is with 47. Okay. This might be x, this might be x. So what you get is minus x plus x is equal to 0. You need not compute the actual remainders. You can, again you will get the same result obviously. Okay. So here, very interesting catch that some of you missed. So T1, T2 real numbers such that the sum of this series is this. For every positive integer n greater equal to 2. If tk is equal to 103, find the value of t2k. Okay. So we are given that the sum of series is of this form generally, and some kth term value is 103. Okay. Can you get the value of kth term from the sum expression? Okay. So tk is equal to, can you write this as t1 plus t2 plus t3 till tk, and subtract from this t1 till t of k minus 1. Everything will get cancelled except tk. So you can also write this as sk minus sk minus 1, where this means that sum till k terms, sum till k minus 1 terms. Sum till k terms is this 2k square plus 9k plus 13 minus sum till k minus 1 terms is 2k minus 1 whole square plus 9k minus 1 plus 13. Okay. Now trying to simplify it, 2k square minus this, take 2 common, a square minus b square it becomes, a minus b, a plus b, so you get 2 multiplied by 2k minus 1 plus 9k minus 1 becomes 9, and 13 get cancelled. So you get 4k minus 2 plus 9, 4k plus 7. Okay. So what you get is, you get tk is equal to 4k plus 7. Simply now you know that value is 103. You get k is equal to 24. 19 plus 24. Okay. Now you can simply compute the value of t2k also. 2k is 48. So what is t48? 4 into 48 plus 7. This is 192 plus 7 is equal to 199. Answer is C. Simple question. The key takeaway is how to write it this way. All this is used in many questions. You might find other questions also in series and progression and series that you will have to write this way. Or basically, every time the sum is given to you, you can write the kth term as sum of k minus sum of k minus 1 terms. Moving to 29th question. The shopkeeper sells two types of pens which are priced at rupees 10 and 3. Samay buys both kinds of pens and spends rupees 110 in total. Let's say he bought x of 10 rupees pens, that means he spends 10x rupees here, 3y rupees on the 3 rupees pens, and total money spent is 110. If the total number of pens he bought is a perfect square, that means x plus y is a perfect square. What is the amount he spent on expensive pens? That means they're asking us for 10x. Okay, so this looks like a special equations questions, straightforward, okay, because there is only one proper equation that we have and there are two variables, and then there is some extra information given which is not really an equation. Okay, so 10x plus 3y, simply I can see that this is divisible by 10, this is also divisible by 10. So if you take the remainder of both sides by 10, remember that normally if you have LHS is equal to RHS, you can add 10 to both sides, you can subtract 10 from both sides, you can multiply both sides by 10. Similarly, you can also take remainder with any number on both sides. Okay. Simple, right? Because these numbers are equal, these are actually equal. This is right, writing 7 equal to 7. So you can take the remainder of with any number on both sides and still LHS will remain equal to RHS. So take the remainder with 10 on LHS. What does it become? This becomes 0. You get 3y, remainder with 10. And on the RHS also you get 0. So that means 3y remainder with 10 is 0. 3 will come outside obviously, because 3 remainder with 10 will remain 3. That means remainder of y with 10 has to be 0. That means y has to be a multiple of 10. Y multiple of 10. That means y can be 10 or 20 or 30 or something of this sort. Now let's try to make few cases here. You know that y can be 10. Let's try y here. 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, something like this. What will be x in that case? We know that this equation already. 10x plus 3y is equal to 110. Can you compute x in terms of y? X will be 110 minus 3y minus by 10. Okay. So if y is 10, then x becomes 8. If y is 20, then this becomes 50 by 10, 5. If y is 30, it becomes 2. If y is 40, y cannot be 40 then, because x would become negative, which is not possible because x is a physical quantity. X, what did we assume x as? The number of pens she is buying, the number of expensive pens that this person is buying or the shopkeeper is selling. Okay, so that has to be an integer greater than 0 or greater equal to 0 at least. These are the possible cases. X plus y is perfect square, not in this case, not in this case, but only in this case. So that means x is 5, y is 20. They're asking what is the amount he spent on expensive pens. 10 into 5, 50 rupees he spent on expensive pens. Answer is B. Okay. This is a good question. So I would recommend pause this video and try to do it, because this is slightly out of the box, slightly not what you do in general equations questions. Okay, this uses outside concepts also, outside of equations. So we are given this equation and we are saying it is positive real roots. What is the minimum possible value of a plus b? Positive real roots we are given, and there is a biquadratic equation, degree 4. Okay, so we don't have a discriminant or something to do it here, straightforward, which we know about. So what can we do? We know that the sum of roots is 8. This will have 4 roots and all roots are positive and real, we are told already. So we are told alpha plus beta plus gamma plus delta. These are the 4 roots which are adding up to 8. What is a? So a minus plus minus. Okay, so a is sum of roots of product taken 2 at a time. That means alpha beta plus beta gamma plus gamma delta plus alpha gamma plus alpha delta plus, I'm missing one term here, beta delta. Okay, we have 6 terms, 4c2, 6 terms. Okay. So now, if I want to find the minimum value of this, then can I use am greater equal to gm? Because that is the first thought that would come to mind, because multiplying all of these will result in something like alpha beta gamma delta. Okay, and we also know that alpha beta gamma delta is equal to 1, because this one is given here. Let me clear that out for you. Okay. So, and am greater equal to gm can be applied on positive real numbers. Okay, so that is why the numbers are given as positive here. So am greater equal to gm, am we take all of these as 6 different terms. So you get this divided by 6 is greater equal to product of all of this raised to power 1 by 6. What is the product of all of these? How many times alpha is coming here? Alpha 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, all of the terms will come 3 times. So that means this will become alpha cube, beta cube, gamma cube, delta cube. We don't even care about what the powers will be, because ultimately this is going to become alpha beta gamma delta raised to some power, and alpha beta gamma delta is 1, so this anyway becomes 1. So this means a becomes greater, a by 6 becomes greater equal to 1 and a becomes greater equal to 6. Okay. Similarly, we'll do it for b also. Okay. What is b? B is alpha beta gamma plus beta gamma delta plus alpha gamma delta plus, I'm missing one term here. Okay. One more term here basically. Okay, let's try to find it out. It will be alpha beta delta. Okay, 4c3, 4 terms. Now again, apply am greater equal to gm here. So am greater equal to gm, you get the sum of all of these terms, and just write this is b by 4, because anyway all of this is added up to b, right? B by 4 is greater equal to the product of all of these raised to power 1 by 4. Product again we know it will be alpha beta gamma delta raised to power something 1 2 3 4. We can calculate also. Alpha is coming twice, thrice. Okay, so again it will be 3 3 3 3. So alpha beta gamma delta becomes raised to power 3 by 4. This is anyway 1, we already know. So b becomes greater equal to 4. In the last page we saw a greater equal to 6. So a plus b, adding these, a plus b becomes greater equal to 10. That means the minimum value of a plus b is 10. Okay, this is very similar to a CAT question that came few years back. Okay, geometry question. 2 circles are placed in an equilateral triangle as shown in this figure. What is the ratio of the area of smaller circle to that of equilateral triangle? Okay, this is a smaller circle. So first of all, what we are given an equilateral triangle, so this question becomes easy for us. Equilateral triangle is 100% symmetrical. Everything that you can think of in equilateral triangle is symmetrical. All the centers that you have, centroid, orthocenter, circumcenter, all of those are also coinciding. Okay. So let's first try to find the radius of the smaller circle. That is when we'll get to the area of the circle. So let me try to draw a line here between these two first. Okay. In fact, let's draw this later. Let's understand the rationale of everything that we're doing. Okay. Let's first draw. First of all, what will be the center of the circle? That will be called the circumcenter or incenter, because this circle is inscribed. This bigger circle is inscribed within the equilateral triangle. All 3 sides are tangents. Okay, that means the circumcenter will be here, and the circumcenter will also be equal to the centroid. Okay, that means this is also the centroid. So if you draw this line, okay, passing through the centroid, let me draw it here. So what do we know? Centroid divides the median in the ratio 2:1. That means if the side length is a, what is GD now? GD is radius of the bigger circle and is equal to root 3 by 2 multiplied by a into 1 by 3. Okay. What is the diameter of this bigger circle? Diameter of this bigger circle becomes twice this. Is the diameter. Okay. So if we try to solve this, what does it become? 2 gets cancelled. You get a divided by root 3. Okay. Now we should calculate. This is another equilateral triangle. This is A, let's say this is E, this is F. AEF is another equilateral triangle. This is angle 60 degree. This is also 60 degree because this line is parallel. Okay, so same angles. Now the height, what is the height of this triangle? Root 3 by 2a minus a by root 3. Okay, root 3 by 2 is what this entire thing AD. It's name this point P. PD is this a by root 3, the diameter of the bigger circle. Then AP will be this. Okay, let's try to solve this. Take the LCM. This becomes, you multiply this by root 3, multiply this by 2, 2. So this becomes 3a minus 2a, a by 2 root 3 is what you get. Okay, AP becomes a by 2 root 3. Now again, this is an equilateral triangle. What is the radius of this? Compute the height of the equilateral triangle and multiply it by 1 by 3, because again this is the centroid. Okay. So AP is the height already, a by 2 root 3, multiplied by 1 by 3 to get the radius, which is GP or G dash P. Okay. This is R2, radius of the smaller circle. If you calculate it, what does it come? You get a by 6 root 3. Okay. So the radius of smaller circle that we know now is R2 is equal to a by 6 root 3. So what is the area of this circle? Pi into a by 6 root 3 square to the area of equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle area is root 3 by 4 a square. A square gets cancelled. What are we left with? We are left with pi divided by 36 into 3 multiplied by 4 divided by root 3. Okay. So you get 9 here. So this comes out as pi divided by 27 root 3. Okay. So the answer will be D in this case. Only thing you require is to know about equilateral triangle, that everything is same, and then a few formulas. Even that root 3 by 2a which I used, you can derive it yourself. How? You don't need to remember that. It's good if you remember in terms of speed, but if you don't know, that is fine. See, this is 60-degree angle. This is side length is a. So what will this be? By simple trigonometry, this will be a sine 60. Sine 60 is root 3 by 2. So this becomes a into root 3 by 2. Okay. Coming to the next question now. Again, this question contains a slight catch which some of you missed. The average of the ages of a man and his only son exceeds the average of the ages of his wife and his son by 25%. Okay, let's say the age of man is M, the age of son is S, exceeds the average of the ages. So average will be this, average of the ages of his wife and his son by 25%. Okay, so 1.25 times average age of wife and son. Okay, 2 gets cancelled obviously. So what do you get here? M plus S, or in fact let me write it as M is equal to 1.25 W plus you get 1.25 S, take the S from the other side, so you get 0.25 S here. Okay. Now the age of his son is 30 years less than the age of his wife. So directly you can put this as W minus 30. And the age of his wife is 10 years less than his age. So you can put this as M minus 10. And then you can put this as M minus 40. Okay. Wife is 10 years less than man and son is 30 years less than wife. So M minus 40. So this is very simple to solve now. This becomes 1.25 M minus 12.5 plus 0.25 M minus 10. This becomes 1.5 M. So you take M here, so this becomes 0.5 M is equal to 22.5. This implies M comes out to be 45. So M comes out to be 45. What is the age of wife? 10 years less than that, 35. Son is 30 years less than wife, 5. What is the average age of the family 6 years ago? Now 6 years ago, son's age would be minus 1. No, son was not even born, right? So we won't consider son in the average itself. Average age of man 6 years ago, 39. Age of wife 6 years ago, 29. Age of son did not exist because he was not born. So you can't take the age of minus 1. This you add, you get 68. And when you divide this by 2 now, don't divide it by 3, okay? Because you're taking the average. Average means divide by the number of terms that you're taking in the numerator. Okay, so 68 by 2, answer comes out to be 34. Okay, so coming to this question 33, we are given that a 3-digit number ABC has 8 factors where ABC are digits. So 6-digit number ABC has 24 factors. What is the number of possible values of A? So first thing that comes to my mind is ABC can be represented in terms of ABC. How? ABC is nothing but ABC multiplied by 1000 plus ABC, which becomes 1001 into ABC. Okay, this is what the next other number is. Now 1001 can also be written as 7 multiplied by 13, 11 multiplied by 13. So this is one single number. Okay, ABC. So this is your final number, which has 24 factors. Okay. Now ABC has 8 factors. How can ABC has 8 factors? What are the possible prime factorizations of ABC? 8 can be written as 8 or 4 multiplied by 2 or 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. In this case, prime factorization of ABC will look like p raised to power 7. In this case, prime factorization of ABC will look like p cube into q. In this case, it will be like p q r. Now this p q r could be or could not be equal to 7, 11, 13 or partially equal to 7, 11 or 13. Okay. In the case that they are not equal, okay, then if let's consider this case first. Okay, 8, 1. So p raised to power 7 is a 3-digit number. This can only happen for p equal to 2. Okay, that means p is 2. So the final number would become 2 raised to power 7 multiplied by this, and the number of factors would become 8 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, which is 64. Okay, but here we have 24 factors. So this is not possible. For 4 multiplied by 2, p cube q. Okay. Now if let's say p is 1 of 7, 11 or 13. P cannot be 11, 13 first of all. P can only be 7. But even if it is 7 and then you are adding one more 7 on top of it, it would become something like p4 multiplied by something. And the number of factors would have 5 as a factor. I mean the number of factors when you compute it, 5 will be one term there, which means the number of factors will be divisible by 5. Which is clearly not the case. Okay, so p does not contain any of this 7, 11 or 13. Now q could be 7, 11 or 13. Let's consider that case. So we are still staying with p cube remains p cube. So the answer, the number of factors in this case could be 4 multiplied by, if q is separate from 7, 11, 13, what do you get? 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 and another 2. Very good, 64. Or if q is 1 of 7, 11 and 13, then you would get p cube, q square and then rs. Okay. If let's say q is 7, then you get 7 square now and 11, 13 come separately. In that case, the number of factors would become 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, which is still much greater than 24. So this is also not possible. Now consider this case, p, q are 3 different prime numbers, each with single power. Now let's say this for 7, 11, 13. First of all, which is not possible because this becomes a 4-digit number. But even in this case, the number of factors would become, right now it is 2 into 2 into 2, 8. It would become 7 square, 11 square, 13 square. And the number of factors would become 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 equal to 27. Okay, which is not possible. And now that we know that PQR, all of these cannot be equal to 7, 11 and 13 because the number would exceed 3 digits. So at least some of these can be equal to 7, 11, 13. So let's say P and Q are 7, 11 and 13, are 7 and 11, let's say. Okay, R or something else only, and then you get a 13 separately. But then what do you get? This power becomes, instead of 2 you are multiplying 3 now. Here also instead of 2 you are multiplying 3 now. Here you are still multiplying 2, here you are still multiplying 2. So again this becomes 9 multiplied 4, 36. Okay, which is greater than 24. So ultimately we have considered all the cases and there is no way in which ABC can have 24 factors if ABC has 8 factors. Okay, so number of possible values of A is 0. None of these. There is no possible number ABC like this which will satisfy all these conditions. So moving to the last question for this mock test. In this figure below, the rectangle at the corner measures 10 cross 20 centimeters. So this is, I think, no dimensions are given, basically horizontal, vertical, so we can take anything. Okay, let's take this as 10, this is 20. The point A of the rectangle, also a point on the circumference of the circle. Okay. What is the radius of the circle? Okay, this looks like a cannot be determined question at first, but this actually can be solved. So this side is 20, this is 10. So So let's try to draw the radius of the circle. This is the center. And now let me try to draw some lines. This will be one radius. Okay. This will also be the radius. And then we can draw some parallel lines like these. Okay, like this. And then like this. Okay. So if the entire radius is r, what would this become? This becomes r minus 20. This becomes r minus 10 because this entire thing is r, right? This is r. So this also becomes r. So this becomes r minus 10. Similarly, this is r minus 20. Okay. And what is this? This is r. And if this is r minus 10, this is also r minus 10. So now this becomes a right angle triangle in which the sides are r minus 10, r minus 20, hypotenuse is r. Okay. So we'll apply this simple hypotenuse for that Pythagoras formula, Pythagoras theorem. R minus 10 whole square plus r minus 20 whole square is equal to r square. Try to solve this. You get 2r square, 1r square gets cancelled, so you get r square minus 20r minus 40r minus 60r plus 500 is equal to 0. This comes out as r minus 10 multiplied by r minus 50 is equal to 0. This means r is equal to 10 or 50. Okay. Oh, but both are only 10 is an option. So that means 10 is the answer. No. Why? Because this is r minus 10, right? That means r at least has to be greater or equal to 10 or greater than 10. Otherwise, this circle would collapse. Okay. Basically, there would not be an outside rectangle which can satisfy all these conditions. So r has to be 50. So our answer here will be none of the above. And that concludes our mock test. So these were the final 9 questions of this mock test 2. I hope you've enjoyed the questions and you are understanding each detail that I am trying to explain and also solving along with me to extract the maximum benefit out of these solutions. I know you spent too much time watching these solutions if you watched all the 4 parts, but this is going to help you in the future as this is going to build a strong concept inside your brain, and then you will be able to solve not only such similar questions that were there in the mock test, but also very different questions now that you know the details and now you know the concept in much more detail. So if you liked the video and if you've been liking this series of mock test 2, do press the like button and let me know in the comment section about if you would like to see more mocks or if you would like to see more concept videos or what you need for your CAT 20 preparation, and I will try to help you as much as I can to help you succeed in CAT 20. Do press the like button and do subscribe to the channel to watch all my upcoming videos and press on the notification bell so that you get to know whenever I am posting quizzes or mocks so you are able to participate into them live. All the best, keep learning.